And we're back on the KrakCast. Quick reminder that the KrakCast is now available on Spotify. So if you're sitting at your desk at work, you're supposed to be doing something productive, listening to Spotify, why not turn over to the KrakCast, check us out, and give us
speech now 3 times, John.
Well, no, but you can never tell people enough about Spotify. You can never mention it enough, I think. What do you do on Spotify? Do you give a thumbs up or 5-star review, or how do you tell people that you like something on Spotify?
I use title myself. Oops.
Sorry, CEO of Spotify. I know you're listening now. We got very interesting guests today. We're joined by Gabor Halmai, who's going to correct me on the pronunciation of his name in just a moment, because I'm sure I butchered it. He's the Vice President of Education with Toastmasters here in Krakow. Toastmasters is an international organization dedicated to helping people improve their public speaking skills. And he's here today to tell us about how they do that. Gabor, welcome to the show.
Hi there. Thank you very much.
Can you go ahead and correct me on the pronunciation of your name?
Yeah, of course. That is Halmai instead of Halmai.
Such an easy one, John.
I don't know how I messed that up.
No, that the way you say it, it sounds like fish liver, you know. That's in Hungarian you would say Halmai. That is fish liver.
I'll take your word for it, I guess. First of all, before we jump into the subject of public speaking, why don't you tell us about your own background, how you came from Hungary to Poland, and how you became involved with Toastmasters?
Okay. So my story is quite typical because I came here 6 years ago and I was an Erasmus student, and that means I was doing normal Erasmus stuff.
And not much work.
Drinking?
No, I was researching, right?
Yeah, that's what you call it, huh? Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Erasmus could see these kids now.
Well, yeah, but I'm still quite fine after 6 years. Yeah, at some point, I of course had to realize that I should quit drinking, and I'm saying this with a beer in my hand, of course. But the point is that I should focus on other aspects of life instead of just chasing chicks and drinking, because believe it or not, in the long run, it makes you quite unhappy. So this is what happened in the first 2 years. Then I started working for corporations for another 3.5 years. And then I realized that, okay, it's still very unhealthy to work for corporations. And I was just I was looking for something else.
And where did the connection with public speaking come up?
It's interesting because I didn't think about public speaking first. What I was asking myself that, all right, I really hate corporations and I'm just doing this for money. So what would be something that I would do even if I didn't get money for it? And the first thing that came into my mind, it was public speaking. So I Googled public speaking Krakow, and this is the thing that came up. So Toastmasters came up, and I said, okay, so I'm going to check them out, and I checked them out, and I stayed.
Now, I'm curious about something. Before we dive into the subject of Toastmasters and how you help people with this, I'm curious. You know, it's funny, if you look at any country, any culture in the world, and you look at like the most common fears and phobias, again, all over the world, it's always the same things. The fear of heights, fear of spiders, whatever. And it's always up at the top, fear of public speaking. What do you think it is about public speaking that makes so many people so afraid?
It's a good question. I think this has to be something with the old societies, so like ancient societies. Because now if you speak in public, you typically survive, right? So you're not really going to get killed.
It's not dangerous now.
No, not that dangerous anyway. So that even if you're leading a pub quiz, for example, people might get upset, but they don't typically kill the guy who leads the pub quiz.
Thankfully, yeah.
Yeah, thankfully. Although sometimes you really want to. But anyway, I think where the fear of public speaking comes from is from ancient times, when you had your small tribes and you had to stand in front of them, and when they didn't like what you said, then they might have just
boo earns, that kind of thing, was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just kick you out of the tribe, and then you are all on your own, and it diminishes the chances to survive.
But you think there's something just very fundamental in basic human psychology that makes us afraid to like stand in the spotlight in front, like we're being judged by other people?
Yeah, definitely. I think that this is where I can lead it back to, because as I said, now this fear is very much, it has lost its base, but maybe 10,000 years ago it was different. Like, for example, if you think about ancient Greece, there were some philosophers who got killed there, or even in the medieval times when people spoke up to their ideas. So blood scourge circulation, for example, they got burned alive. So yeah.
In Ireland, back home, my friends have a fear of speaking as well. They have a fear it'll start and never stop, so they don't encourage it.
Well-founded fear.
I was wondering about, just to jump in a little bit to the kind of specific tips you guys give. Sometimes when I listen back to the podcast, I notice myself stumbling over words that I usually wouldn't. And I'm wondering, do you think I should drink more before I start?
Yeah, does alcohol help? That's a good question.
Well, it's going to get you more relaxed, but
That's right.
I don't really advise going drunk to the meetings, for example, because then you might be relaxed to do other things, It's like when you are drunk, you don't just speak in public more easily. You do other things also. So the best thing is just to bring yourself, even if you're a bit nervous, it's going to be okay. The point is just to go there, to do it, and just to become more relaxed over time when you have done it, for example, 1,000
with non-alcoholic
times.
solutions too.
Exactly.
It's interesting, the number of people, and I'm sure you've encountered the same thing. A lot of people have never heard of Toastmasters, which is odd because it's been around for, I don't know, the 1930s, I think, as like
20s.
1920s. Almost 500,000 members around the globe, tens of thousands of chapters. I think any decent-sized city has multiple chapters. Has that been your experience as well, that most people are not familiar with it?
Yeah, that's right. So the people who are interested in public speaking, they have heard about Toastmasters, but the ones who are not, they haven't. So like this is logical actually, and I guess because it's very fearful to speak in front of public, it's also that's why people just don't look it up.
Maybe Toastmasters need some better PR.
I think maybe at this stage you should lead our listeners through the kind of the basics, how it all got started. I mean, there's two schools of public speaking. The Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people, is very influential in the field, and there's Toastmasters. So maybe you could set up a little bit of the founder about Ralph Smedley and how it all got started.
Okay, so Ralph Smedley, he was teaching Boy Scouts first, so he just noticed that, oh my God, these guys, they cannot speak in public, right? So they know how to light a fire and stuff, but they don't know how to convince people, what to tell to people, and this is why he established Toastmasters. And in the beginning, I guess it wasn't so popular because girls weren't allowed, but in the 60s, then it changed, so it was open for everybody, and then it has become worldwide. And after the collapse of communism and the collapse of Soviet Union, it has also arrived to our countries, right? Poland, Hungary, etc. So now we can practice Toastmasters here as well. And it's a non-profit organization, so it's pretty awesome that you don't have to pay the market price for this. Mm-hmm. You can just try yourself and do it, basically for around 30 zloty per month.
Is that a polite way of saying the Carnegie method is quite expensive? I think it is.
Gabor, in your own experience here in Krakow, typically when people come to join you for the first time, maybe, are they joining for professional business reasons, personal improvement reasons? What's the motivation of the typical person who joins what you do here?
I would say it's 50-50. Or maybe, there are more people who want to face their fears, because these are the most typical answers. That first, that okay, I'm afraid of public speaking and I want to overcome this. And there are some people who need this for the business purposes. And of course, many times this is combined, so that I have a business and I am afraid of public speaking, which is not good if you if you have a business and you have to convince people to buy stuff from you. But yeah, this is the main reason why people come to us. And also it's not that many, but there are also people who come because they want to know how to share their message. And I think it's important to think about it positively, so that not to get rid of something, but to do something with your time, and also to have a clear goal of what you want to do.
I'm sure there's many of our millions of listeners who are wondering exactly what would I expect if I went to a Toastmasters meeting. Maybe you could illuminate this question by describing the first time you spoke at a meeting, what you spoke about, and how you felt, most importantly, when you did it.
Okay. So first, I was scared shitless. Yeah, that's how it goes. I had some experience before because I was in a student association and I was in a Model UN association. So I did public speaking, but I never really spoke about myself. So what is inside of me, and what I was scared about, it was more about sharing what is inside of me and not really about speaking in public. Of course, that was also a part of it. But for me, this is why Toastmasters is very important, to share the ideas that come from inside of me and also about myself. So I guess I'm narcissistic, but
No.
narcissistic, yeah.
All right, let's jump into some of the basics here. Okay, let's say there's someone who's just a disaster at public speaking. Dave, for example.
I just hate the sound of my own voice. I
And
don't know what it is.
he comes to Toastmasters and he says, okay, listen, I have to fix this for, let's say, for professional reasons. Take us through some of the basic do's and don'ts, or do's and do not do's, as they say on The Simpsons, of public speaking. Like a couple of bullet points. Definitely do this. Definitely don't do this.
I
What's
thought we
the
weren't
list?
allowed to quote The Simpsons on air.
Oh, we are now.
Okay, when you do it, it's fine.
Yeah, when I do it, it's
When
fine.
I do it, it's confusing.
All right. So yeah, so if Dave came, then we would just probably kick him out because
Good start. Excellent decision.
there are just some people who cannot
Exactly. Keep
be
the
public
integrity of
speakers.
the club intact.
It's the old no Dave's
Gotta
club
have some
again.
standards here.
Okay, to be fair, it has never happened before, but there is a first time for
Dave
everything.
hasn't been there, that's why.
Yeah,
Okay, enough beating up on Dave.
yeah. Sorry, Dave.
You know, the first time I had to speak in public really was doing a best man speech, and I was quite nervous. Smashed it though.
Well, yeah, everybody is. But what was the question? Sorry, I forgot.
The do's and don'ts.
Okay, sure.
This whole book's about the do's and don'ts. That's a bit vague. isn't it?
No, the most important thing, the most important do's and don'ts. Definitely do this, definitely stay away. You know, what makes it, in other words, what makes a good speaker and what makes the signs of a poor speaker. Things that have to be fixed.
Okay. So the first thing that comes into my mind is that just do it. Because
The Nike approach.
yeah, that's right. That's the one. Because, when you have something to share, a message, then if it comes from your heart, you will do it right? So people are going to resonate with you. They will see that it's important for you. So even if you are clumsy, it's still a better idea to speak than not to speak. So the first thing, just to do it. And
An element of self-confidence. Just kind of step up there and take the microphone and do it.
yeah,
And that's also the whole idea: is no preparation. It's spontaneous.
there is preparation.
Oh,
So that
excuse me.
right. So there is impromptu speaking, right? And there is
Table topics.
Yeah.
That's the- yes.
oh, very good. You did your
I
research.
did my research.
Nice. That's great. So we will not kick you out.
Oh, the first club I've ever been let stay in. We'll see about
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
2 weeks.
awesome. Yeah. So jokes aside, that's the most important thing. Just do it. And once you are on stage, more and more, so you have a lot of stage time. You are just going to get better, and of course, you are going to get feedback. So this is important, just to listen to the feedback that you are getting. And we are doing this in Toastmasters so that we are giving you feedback. So once you get this, just improve based on the feedback and just kind of overcome your arrogance that is built into a lot of people saying that, yeah, I'm awesome already and I really have nothing to improve. And that's not true for most of the cases. Maybe it's true for you, but probably
open
not.
to constructive criticism.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like a cliche, but there are a couple of other things like, making eye contact, positive open body language, all this kind of stuff. Again, cliche, but true, right? I mean, you should do these things, yeah?
I was on the website and I read a good one. Don't say things like everybody knows and everybody's heard. It's a good tip, though. People do say that. They think, oh, this is so obvious, but you've alienated part of the crowd when you say that, So even with 10 minutes on the website, you can see it's fascinating, actually, to analyze speech in that way, One of the questions I had, my main curiosity, I have to say, when I started researching this topic, is the World Championship of Toastmastering.
All right.
Can you set up for our listeners? This is huge. This is the biggest public speaking championship in the world. Am I right? I'm setting it up now. You set it up.
The Smackdown, the Toastmaster Smackdown, basically, is what it is. Yeah? So how does this work?
That's we have competitions, and there are 4 competitions, and this one is the biggest one. So the one that you mentioned is the International Speech Contest, and this one is the biggest event, and we have 3 others, so that we have humorously speaking, and we have a contest for humorous speeches, and then we have speech evaluation contests, and we also have a contest for table topics that is essentially our way of speaking impromptu, so that without preparation. Well, not entirely without preparation, but okay. For now, let's say without preparation. And from all these 4 contests, number 1 is international speeches. Because in this contest, you can give any sort of speech that you want, and you are going to be evaluated. And there are several rounds to it, so that there is the club level, and you advanced all the way to the top. So that there are 6 stages altogether, if I count it well. So you have to win 6 times in order to be the champion.
Just to throw a statistic here, over 33,000 participants.
How many? How many did? 33?
See, that's just naked racism right here on the back. All right, it's a disability. Irish people can't say 3, okay? Leave me alone. 141 countries around the world. This is huge. I mean,
it's a big deal.
And like you were saying, it's a 6-month process. 106 people reached the semi-finals, and then 10 people reached the final.
Yeah.
They sound like very long shows. Where did they take place? Are we talking a Las Vegas convention center for the final, something like that? Or?
This year it was in Chicago.
Oh, right. Cool.
So yeah, typically it's in the US, or okay, like last time it was in Vancouver. But okay, in the US or somewhere around. And this is the final. So that's.
And how would you recommend that I get over my fear of the number I just tried to say out loud?
Well, how to get over the fear of saying a number?
Learn how to pronounce it properly.
33.
Okay. Well, you can use several approaches. So you just go home, for example, and you practice saying this number. And you can, for example, silence John when he is mocking you. That's another approach.
Isn't that as constructive criticism? It is. I'm trying to help when I mock him like that.
It's not just John. It's every other expat who's not Irish.
It's the whole planet, basically.
Yeah. I'll tell you a story. One time I was at work and I said the number 3, as in I've just how many placements have you got now, Dave? I've got 3, and one of my see I'm so self-conscious. I tried to pronounce it right the second time there, and it all went bad. And I turned around and he'd drawn a 3. In the box where my number should be. Yeah, still haven't forgotten, Dino.
Let me back up a little bit. Gabor, back to your meetings here in Krakow. I imagine pretty much everybody at your meetings here is speaking English as a second language, right? Or a third language or whatever. Yeah?
Apart from one of our members, yes.
Is it kind of saying that he's just cheating because he's a native speaker?
Well, he still has to talk,
Yeah.
It's just interesting because, we were talking about how, part of the process of getting better is kind of exposing yourself to the criticism of the crowd. And I don't know, I just got respect for somebody who goes there, especially as a first timer or somebody who's been going there for just a few weeks. They know they're going to get criticized, maybe harshly. They know they've got a lot of improvements to make. And another layer of complexity on top of that, they're doing everything in a foreign language. So I don't know. There's a lot of respect. Just pretend there's a question in there and kind of,
All right.
say, really, it's impressive. I couldn't do that. I couldn't go to a Polish language Toastmasters meeting and expect any kind of positive feedback. So I think I have a lot of respect for people who go to your meetings and know they're going to get criticized while they're struggling through a language that's maybe not so easy for them.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you on behalf of all the non-native English speakers.
You're welcome, everyone.
And secondly, yes. So this is something that we also gotta improve in, right? So many people who come to us, they have this secondary objective to actually learn English. And of course, you're facing two fears at the same time,
right.
And it's super hard.
Sure.
So you gotta be dedicated. So just to come to the meeting, improve all the time. If you get criticism, then just swallow it and go on with it. And of course, like regarding criticism, we are not assholes, right? So
thanks for clearing that up for us because we weren't sure about that.
So like constructive criticism is not that you are shit, go and improve.
No, of course not.
The constructive criticism is, for example, that Dave, you mispronounced 3.
Again?
Yeah.
It's been happening for a while.
Which is okay, you are not a native speaker.
Yeah, but you gotta be
wait.
You just won the entire episode.
You could pass me
Gabor.
the elevator there, John.
We'll be talking about that for a long time. No, but you got to be open for this kind of criticism, right? You got to be ready to accept it and move on, right? And not take it personally because it's not meant personally.
Yeah, but my point was that we are actually
did I step
doing
on your
it.
point? I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. So like we are doing it nicely in the sense that we just point out the mistake and we just give an advice how to correct it.
Mm-hmm. And it's all over your promotional materials. One of the most important things to bring is a good attitude, a positive attitude. There's no point walking into a Toastmasters club with a face on you.
Right.
Grumpy is what that means. My question is related to that.
Okay.
As you're the kind of organizer, yeah. So you're monitoring things. Yeah. Have you ever come across a circumstance where someone delivers ostensibly positive feedback in a nice voice? They're smiling, but there's a few little blows in there. It's a bit much. Like, do you ever have to regulate that, or do you find it's something that people are really good about? Actually, it's like a support group, and it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, does anybody get too vicious, too personal, too nasty?
I didn't say vicious, and I didn't mean vicious. Ask your own questions.
I think you did.
Okay, so can I say something?
Yeah.
Yes, you may.
Please do.
You have permission.
Thank you. So yeah, that's usually the problem that I encounter here in Poland is that they don't dare to criticize. So the problem is pretty much the other thing. It's not that we are too vicious, it's that we are not vicious enough. So that we many times just pointing out what was good in the speech, and we don't even point out the mistakes. We just say, oh, you did everything well, everything was perfect, etc. And this is a sort of criticism that is kind of useless in a sense that, okay, it's nice to feel good about yourself, but if you want to improve in something, you also need to know what your mistakes are. And they have to be pointed out. And they have to be pointed out in a nice way, so just not to involve any judgment in it. Just saying that, okay, you did this and that, and instead you could do another thing. And this is what you will consider, and this is not going to hurt your ego. And you are not going to think that, okay, I'm shit, I'm not going to come anymore.
Does anyone ever give a flawless speech, a perfect 10 out of 10 speech?
Well, yes.
Really?
But it's rare.
That's why they have a world championship, John.
Oh, yeah. And if you go and see the world championship, then you see how these people are speaking. And technically, they are perfect. The only thing that you can decide on whether you like the content or not.
Well, but what I
this-
mean is, do I have to go to the World Championships to see a perfect speech? Can I go to the Krakow chapter meetings and see a perfect speech?
Well, it doesn't
Nearly
happen.
perfect.
Yeah.
9.5.
Like, we are all learning there, so it doesn't happen often that we have 10 out of 10 speeches or 9.5 out of 10 speeches. But we have pretty good speakers, yes. And yeah, definitely there is something to improve.
Is the absolute key ingredient to a really great speech humor? I've always felt, no matter what the arena, a TED Talk, which is how I heard about Toastmasters actually, the Toastmasters TED Talk is quite popular. Is there any substitute for a good sense of humor? You know, getting the crowd involved, getting it on side, or would you say it's not that important?
Well, it's important, but I think it's overrated in a sense that, what do I want to say? So that people think about humor, that, okay, this is something essential to give a good speech, and they just focus on how to be humorous and how to be funny, and eventually they end up fake. And that's not really something that you want to do if you want to contact with the audience. You want to be in contact with the audience. So it's good to use humor, of course. It's going to make people relax. They are going to like you more if you can make them laugh. But the key element of a good speech is that you have a message that you really want to share, and you just shape this message in a way that the audience can swallow it or digest it.
So passion, clarity.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for us? You know, we're speaking into microphones. People can't see us. So part of, the visual element is obviously missing. But what advice can you give us to speak more, I don't know, more in the Toastmaster way into these microphones?
Josh is always telling us what to do, and we never
That's
listen.
true.
Okay. So the main problem with native speakers usually is that when they get comfortable, they don't really care about things like articulating. So that's...
What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Three times I've articulated.
That's right.
So you get lazy a little bit.
Yeah, laziness, and also just not taking into consideration that the person in front of you hasn't learned this speech from the speaking from, okay, so hasn't learned this language from the mother, right? Hence it's not the mother tongue.
Mm-hmm.
So
My mother
that
says I have verbal diarrhea. Anyway, sorry. It's a very mean woman.
so yeah, that might explain your issues.
I love you, Mom. No, it's just a joke.
She's not listening, let's be honest.
She started to listen, so she tells me. That's a little test now.
She's
We'll see
being
if she
nice to
picks
you.
up on that,
Yeah, we'll see.
That's awesome. Congrats for your mom.
Hi, Miss McGinley.
She'd make
Hello.
an excellent Toastmaster.
Oh yeah,
Good, actually.
Yeah.
she will be welcome.
Absolutely. I don't know if the Dublin club could handle that level of honesty.
Gabor, tell us tell us where people can find you online and how they can find more information about the Krakow meetings.
Okay, so that we have a Facebook page. Maybe that's the easiest. So our name is Toastmasters Krakow, and we are the English-speaking club. So if you type Toastmasters Krakow English-speaking club, you will find us. And there is also Toastmasters Krakow for Polish speakers. So for the ones who don't feel so comfortable with English, or they just don't need English, that also might be the case. They go to the Polish-speaking meetings. Or if you want to improve, two things at the same time, that is public speaking and your English, then you can come to the English speaking one.
And where and when do you meet? Because we want to send Dave next week. So tell us again where and when we can find you.
All right. So we meet every Wednesday at 5:45. So this is maybe a bit unusual, but
That's a bit late for me. Could you do 3:30?
we can do 5:39.
5:33.
33. That's right.
Wednesdays 5:45.
That's right.
And how long do the meetings typically last?
2 hours.
About 2 hours.
Okay.
That's right.
And
I
there
did
is
my research, John.
and there is a fee. Yes, this is a paid membership.
Yes,
Very reasonable fee.
but first time you come, you don't have to pay anything, right? And even if you come many times, but you don't want to pay, you just want to come and have a good time, you can do it. So there's no issue with that. The only thing is that you cannot give speeches. You can only give one speech. That is your icebreaker. And after your icebreaker, you have to be a member to carry on.
And where do you meet again? It's on Ulica Rajska somewhere, is that right?
On Rajska, yes.
Just off Karmelitska, yeah?
Rajska 1, Rajska 1. And that's the public library. So the library of the voivodeship.
And all joking aside, I think it's an absolutely wonderful organization, particularly because of the way it's structured. And, you know, it's the fees are to pay for the, you know, the administration of the whole organization. It's a non-profit, essentially. So,
exactly.
you know, I think it's a very, very positive force for good in the world. So, well done.
Thank you.
Gabor, Vice President of Education at Krakow Toastmasters, thanks for joining us. And maybe we'll see you there one day on Rajska. Maybe we can go over there and improve ourselves. And what do you think, Dave?
I hope so.
Was that a yes, Dave? Or I don't know, it's just a nervous laugh. I don't know. Maybe.
Trail out.
See you next time at the KrakCast.